is, running it down on these niggas.
Sex, drugs, money, and murder, my nigga. You know how we get it, my nigga. Still be painting them bitches, my nigga. Ripping that raw and fucking your bitches. Sex, drugs, money, and murder. 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 Niggas, they never will hurt you. Niggas, they never will hurt you. Sex, drugs, money, and murder. Sex, drugs, money,
I was
and
trained
murder.
how the trap spot, understand how to get that. Ran down on them niggas with a flip back. Knew I never seen another nigga live like that. I was still getting stacks back. Had to fuck around getting them packs back.
It's your boy Bullets Gotti. This video right here, I'm definitely touching on a real important topic. I was watching all the dialogue, and I seen a conversation piece. And y'all know I've touched the Jimmy Henchman, Haitian Jack story multiple times on my platform. And, you know, a lot of the stories that you're hearing and you seeing on platforms, talking about Jack, talking about Jimmy, and to keep it real with y'all, right? A lot of people, you know, don't look at it like, they don't talk about like Prize, right? Prize case was a perfect example of when people be talking about, you know, confidential informants. Like John Forte, people forgot John Forte was signed to Jimmy Henchman and Haitian Jack. John Forte went to jail. That's a lot of people don't forgot. Went to jail for drug trafficking, right? He was moving around, moving and shaking with Prize. He got pardoned by George W. Bush, but he was moving around with Prize. And at the time, Prize wasn't doing music. Prize was into, you know, the legal activities. Now, you look at Haitian Jack, you look at Jimmy Henchman, right? And you hear the stories. You hear, you know, the stories of, you know, them shaking down dudes in the industries. You know, them, you know, with whole, like, being, you know, affiliated with all these label execs and extorting a lot of these dudes in the industry, you know, that were label execs, you know. Like, people try to say that, well, Puff was never extorted by Haitian Jack and Jimmy Henchman, you know. Chris Lighty was never extorted by Haitian Jack and Jimmy Henchman. They knew who to do that too. But when it comes to the whole snitching thing, I was listening to what Greg Taylor was saying, and it's like, people forgot. Haitian Jack was in California via Lydia Harris, Michael Harris' wife. You see the connection? It's crazy, right? He was in L.A. because of Michael Harris' wife, Lydia Harris. Okay, and you heard Ori Spado talks about him being in Cali and all that. You know, his affiliation with Wyclef, that Wyclef and him is kind of like family. You know, him, you know, being a foreign diplomat because he was you know, his family was a part of the Papa Doc regime, you know, in Haiti back in the 60s, right, when they came to America. Jimmy Henchman was born in Harlem, so he's not a, how you say, a foreigner, because he, you know, he's from here. He was born here. You know, he was born in America. But Jimmy Henchman, you know, a lot of people don't understand, got in the game through David Hyatt and Peter Thomas. Peter Thomas and David Hyatt brought Jimmy Henchman to the game. Jimmy Henchman was, you know, associates of Peter Thomas. Peter Thomas was with David Hyatt out there in Miami doing the How Could I Be Down and all the other stuff that he was doing. David Hyatt is the same man that found R. Kelly. Okay? Jimmy Henchman, you know, had Lil Sean as an artist. Lil Sean was basically like, they was cleaning the money with him. You know, he was really, used as somebody that they was cleaning the money with and had him as an artist, right? You know, and then you got to remember, Jimmy had Groove Theory. You know, Haitian Jack was running around with the Fugees. You know, that's why him and Akon and Wyclef is still good to this day. You see Akon with him all the time. You know, he got like a real position at convict music. A lot of people don't know that. But this is the thing. When it comes to Haitian Jack and the Tupac saga, that whole situation that happened, right? A lot of dudes felt disrespected with Pac said, Hatchet, you know, Jimmy, you know, and a lot of them dudes, they was feeling offended. Son that robbed and pistol whipped Pac was not Dexter Isaac. We got to stop that. Tut, Nubs, and I'm going to just say Spencer is who pistol whipped and shot Pac. The 90s general. I call him the 90s general. Right? They came in for the bracelet and the chain and the Rolex. The discipline Pac. Pac said what he said to Jimmy Henchman on the phone, and he stood on that. A lot of people say, oh, Pac shot himself and all that. He was pistol whipped and shot. Pac was reaching for his hammer, and the 90s general that robbed him, the same 90s general that robbed the girl Crystal and TT, who was running with Kendo, right? He had a fake Jamaican accent, right? He's not Jamaican, you know, but he ran with a lot of Jamaicans. You know, he's in Otisville with Tut right now. You know, Little Sean, that's Little Sean. He told that's his co-defendant and all that. But he was the one that shot and robbed Pac at Quad Studio. He was the one that gave the chain and the bracelet to old boy. Gave the bracelet, I should say, not the chain, because they wasn't able to take the chain in the rollie. I think they did. I don't think they took the rollie, but they took the bracelet. They made sure to take the bracelet because the bracelet, they robbed Richie Rich for the bracelet. I think they did take the chain. They did take the chain, but they didn't take the cross. They took the chain, though. I think they did take the chain. But they robbed Richie Rich, DJ Richie Rich at third base for that same bracelet, the 90s general. You know, he was known for taking niggas' rollies, taking niggas' bracelets. You know, he had got shot at Foxy Brown Party for, you know, a situation. A little bit after that, you know, in 96. But he had a situation, and the robbery that they did on TT was similar. You know, they was beefing with Kendo and his peoples, you know, and around them times. And over drug spots, you know, they was known for, you know, running up in niggas' drug spots, taking their coke, taking their money and all that, and then reselling the work, right? That was they known, you know, thing. So when they took the bracelet and all that at Quad, they pistol whipped them and took the jury, you know, left them with the Rolex, you know, took the chain, took the bracelet, but left them with the Rolex, right? Left Pac with the Rolex. Pac had the Rolex, but they never took that. They took the bracelet and the chain. So when they robbed Pac for that, right? And people don't look at the other things that happen. You know, Like, you know, allegedly in the streets, they said that Stretch got coke from Jimmy. And allegedly, his murder, they rewarded the individual that put the hit out on him with Death Row East. Allegedly. That's what they were saying. The streets, you know, as you know, the same dude that killed Stretch was the same dude that had a hand in Jam Master Jay's murder. You know what I'm saying? And it's crazy, right? It's crazy how those situations are connected. But when the Quad Studio situation, what people don't understand, Ayanna Jackson was a setup girl for Jimmy and them, right? She was a setup girl, right? And she was fucking with all the hustler niggas, fucking with Jimmy, fucking with Jack, fucking with Nut, fucking with a lot of niggas, right? In the game. And when they was giving the bracelet around and the ring, because they took the ring too, okay? They took the ring too. Little Sean had the ring, Big had the ring, and Big had the necklace. You know, that's what they say. He had the necklace. The bracelet, they gave that to Peanut, the bracelet, and the pinky ring. You know, when they did this robbery, like I said, TT and Crystal robbery was the same type of robbery. But the only thing difference is Son had the fake Jamaican accent when he did that robbery. Dexter Isaac was not a part of that. He was not a part of that robbery. And how Tut got locked up in that case was because he came on the scene. He was good friends with Crystal's brother, I think cousin, the kid Kasheen. He was good with that dude. And that's how he got scooped up in that case, because they was being federally watched at the time. They snatched up the dude that's the 90s general in 98. In 98, they snatched him up, right? But from 98 to during 95 and 94, the Pac thing was a discipline, because you got to remember, that's Jack's mans. You know what I'm saying? And he was known for, you know, doing Jack's handiwork. You understand what I'm saying? He was putting in the work for Jack. In fact, he was in the courtroom, you know, sitting next to Jack in the courthouse. Okay? Sitting in the courthouse with Jack during the whole case with Pac. You know, when Pac said, yo, he's with my he was with Biggie. Dude he was talking about was the 90s general. The dude that I'm, you know, that, you know, you know, and all them was good with. You know, talked about him in his Vlad TV interview. That was who, you know, Pac was talking about that he saw with Biggie, because Biggie had a relationship with Son. Dude, the various people that was in his circle. You know, Nut used to run around with Son. And Son was also good friends with Tyson. You know, Tyson still goes and visit him all the time. But that's here nor there. When he pistol whipped Son, when Nubs and Tut, when he was there, because Tut didn't really do anything, but Tut, you know, he had the jewels. Yeah, he did. He wasn't the one that shot Pac. Pistol whip Pac. He didn't pistol whip Pac. But Nubs and the boy Tut, you know, was in Quad. The 90s general was the one that pistol whipped and all that, shot him and all that. When they go into the studio, right? Quad Studio is a small space. It's so many intricate parts that people forgot. Nichols ran after them niggas. But he collapsed and fell and he stood downstairs. but he was running after those niggas, right? There was a stripper outside that they was talking to find out where did them niggas go. But she didn't really know nothing. She worked at the Platinum Doll, which is next door to Quad, right? They go upstairs and all that. And, you know, what made niggas feel that stress was involved is that he went and had a conversation with Jimmy, right? He went into the corner and spoke to Jimmy. Now, like I said, in the streets, they said that Jimmy had gave him work, you know, coke on consignment. And Jimmy was known for that. If you look at his case, what he was doing, he was giving all his hitters coke. Jimmy, a lot of people don't understand, right? A lot of people don't know the history. Like, Jimmy was a stick-up kid before he became a drug dealer, right? He made his rounds in the industry, got connected with the Rolling 60 niggas in LA and all that. And, you know, he was hating on certain dudes like Chris Lighty, you know what I'm saying? Him and Puff had a, you know, somewhat of a relationship, but not like what you say, like, yo, that's my, you know how that is. Industry shit, right? But he had he was shaking down and the labels that he was shaking down to get his bag. Like Uptown Records, like Def Jam, you know, Motown, Loud Records. He was shaking these niggas down. You know, that's why if you listen, he talk about Bulletproof Love. You know, Jay-Z, he had an issue with Jay-Z because Jay-Z didn't do a certain thing for him. And they had J.O. Felony diss Jay on some extortion shit, you know, and Jay-Z wasn't going for it. And, you know, he ain't rock with son. But even with the whole thing with R. Kelly, a lot of people thought R. Kelly was bugging when he said he saw guns in the front row. But there was guns in the front row. Jimmy had dudes there to murder Kells that night at the Garden. You know, you hear Roger Barnes talk about it. There was guns in the front row in the Garden. You know, it was a situation where somebody that Jimmy was, you know, because, you know, he was good friends with Zip. And, you know, Zip and Black Ground Records. So they was coming to do R. Kelly in that night. And you hear Cassidy said they had to give R. Kelly and them hammers because Jimmy had the shooters right there in the front row. So when Jay said, no, it ain't no guns in here, it was guns in here, you know? But a lot of niggas ain't really know that, you know? And that's because what people gotta understand, these dudes was on some extortion games, you know? And the infiltration that Haitian Jack was doing was he was infiltrating, you know, in a lot of people's camps. Like Peter Shue, you hear him talk about how basically the whole Madonna shit, how he said he got connected through Madonna, through Jack, and how he felt that Jack lined him up. You know, Pistol Pete, you know, feel that, you know, had an issue with Jack. You know what I'm saying? And he ended up getting a case. And the dude that's cool with Jack was the one that pointed Pete out in Grant's tomb. And him and Jack had an issue because Jack's partner, Anthony Dunkley, who owned Manhattan Proper in the barbershop, got murdered. Okay? He was one of the homicides that was caught. And his body was left in Soundview. right? And basically, Haitian Jack and them was lining Pete and them up. And quite a few other people. And the police was using, and it's been documented. They did articles, Jimmy Henchman put it out there, said he got lined up by Jack, and others have said this, and then you heard Greg Taylor said the same thing, that Jack was lining niggas up. He was infiltrating, he tried to get next to 50, but 50 dubbed him, They was trying to get the governor signed, and, he dubbed him, and, it didn't go the way he wanted it to go. They was trying to get next to Nas. Nas wasn't going for it. Tupac, you saw what happened with that situation, and that they lined Pac up. They lined Pac up with Ayanna Jackson because she was the setup girl for Jimmy and them. So they lined him up. And then when they wanted him to, give up the jewels and humble himself, he ain't want to do that. So Jimmy and Jack felt some type of way, and the 90s general felt some type of way, and then they, they let it, they did what they had to do. But he wasn't going for it. He wasn't backing down. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't backing down in that situation. Dudes try to play himself and try to say, oh, he shot himself in the balls and he shot a ball. None of that is true. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, like, even with the whole Chris Lighty thing, like, people try to make, like, Chris Lighty was some sucker. Chris Lighty ran with some official cats from the Bronx. The B.O.s and all of that. All of them dudes. Chris Lighty wasn't no sucker, no punk. And he wasn't scared of Jimmy. And he put hands on Jimmy. He put hands and feet on Jimmy Henchman. And real talk, right in Russell Simmons' office. He put hands on him, And not only that, he put hands on him, but, he G-checked him. Because, Henchman was jealous of the success that Chris Lighty was having. A lot of people was signing to Chris Lighty management, and Jimmy wasn't feeling that, And it's no knock on Jimmy Henchman. I don't have a knock on the man, but he was basically not feeling the situation. And Jimmy not only had beef with just Chris Lighty, he had issues with Dame, He had issues with 50, because 50 didn't want to pay for the headstone for the original 50 Cent. That's how the original problems came from, when 50 didn't want to give up the money for the headstone for the original 50 Cent. And then when he didn't want to give up the headstone, then the situation happened like the way it fucking happened, And what I mean, the situation happened the way it motherfucking happened is, what transpired. And you heard, look what happened with, Mark Curry. He spoke about a situation, which I already knew about, but the situation was when Jack and Zip came to the apartment where him and Sean was living, and they brought 2 white bitches there, and ended up was trying to do the same shit that they did to Tupac, the Puff. These dudes had a history of lining niggas up, Jack. They had a history of that, Jimmy and Jack. And what they was in the industry was to extort, to rob, and sell niggas jewelry, because they had the whole thing lined up. See, son, the 90s general, Tito was the one that told on him in the case. And they had the whole Diamond District, lined up. They was taking niggas jewelry and selling it right back to fucking Tito. You understand what I'm saying? And these were some grimy individuals, man. Grimy. They called themselves the Black Mob. Some people say they was the Poison Clan, but they really was the Black Mafia. That's what they called themselves on the street. And when Jack, when he was on the street and how he was moving, even with the situation with the BMF situation, a lot of people didn't know about that. But Jack shot a BMF member in the kneecaps out there in L.A., You know, they came in there, they disrespected him in front of MC Light, and they, you know, they was calling him all type of rat and all type of things, right? And he popped the hammer. He popped the hammer, and he shot Son in the kneecap. Now, you know, a lot of people say, yo, he kidnapped Meech, you know, and that's how the beef started. Yeah, he had an issue with the BMF niggas, and he robbed they spots. And it was money on his head. And he could afford to stay in America, but he opted out and got deported. And what people got to understand is they was using him to infiltrate. And when he started wilding out in L.A., when he started, it was one thing when you being a terror to your own people. It's another thing when you being a terror to white people. And that's what he was doing in Hollywood. So what they had to do was sit his ass down over there and send his ass over there. Now he's in Dominican Republic. They had to sit his ass down. You know, but they used him for what they used him for. They used him to infiltrate, you know, a lot of organizations. You know, like they was trying to get him to infiltrate 50 but 50 wasn't going for it. 50 wasn't really fucking with something. But he was trying to get next to 50. He was trying to get next to a lot of motherfuckers in the industry. You know what I'm saying? And he got next to certain individuals, but he was trying to get him so the niggas could build cases on these niggas. Because he was really a paid CI for the NYPD and the motherfucking feds. You understand what I'm saying? And that's how he was able to do what he was doing in the industry for so long. You know, this dude had a lengthy rap sheet. You know what I'm saying? And how he was protected because he had diplomatic immunity. You know, Jack had diplomatic immunity. That's what people don't understand. You know? And he wasn't no hustler. He didn't get no money like that. He was a robber. You know, he was an extortionist and a robber and a party promoter. You know, and he was getting money and all that because he was extorting certain dudes in the industry. You know, he was getting next to certain dudes. Jimmy, same thing. He was extorting certain dudes in the industry. You know, that's how Jimmy was getting in the game. That's how he was able to wash his money. You know what I'm saying? And he had, you know, Brandy. He had certain acts, Groove, Dairy, Salt, and Pepper. You know, but these dudes was real grimy individuals. You know, and the thing what a lot of people don't understand is these niggas got a cap. They know what happened. They didn't like what Pac said. They ain't like that Pac wasn't going for their bullshit. And the thing is that Jack felt disrespected because all of this about he taught the nigga the lifestyle. But Jack don't tell the stories of like what really happened. Everybody say, oh, Pac, when he came to New York, he didn't. Pac came back to New York. A lot of niggas in New York liked it, Pac. Like I told y'all, Preem respected Pac, fuck with Pac heavy. Pistol Pete, fuck with Pac heavy. There's a lot of motherfuckers, real motherfuckers in the street. Big D, Eric B, Chaz, and all these niggas, they fuck with Pac heavy. You know what I'm saying? Now, there was dudes that felt the type of way because he didn't want to sign with them and have them as his managers. You know, Jack wanted to be the manager. Jimmy wanted to be the manager. But he wasn't, you know. It's like a situation what happened with Nas. Like, they tried that, you know, and Nas wasn't going for it. 50 wasn't going for it. You know, they try to, you heard the stories, they try to, you know, come like they was, but they understand 50 energy. And then when dudes say, yo, they was extorting Puff, they wasn't extorting Puff. Because Wolf and them wasn't having that. You know what I'm saying? They wasn't extorting Chris Lighty, because Chris Lighty and them wasn't having that. Chris Lighty was official. Official Bronx niggas. Bronx niggas is just different. They just different. You know, and they move different. So the dudes that they was extorting was you know, dudes like and Stout and you know, Kadar and you know, and many others. You know, Def Jam, you know what I'm saying, Def Jam, Motown, Andre, you know, they was all up in these niggas' pockets. You know what I'm saying? When Puff bust, you know, Stout upside the head, the first nigga he went to was Jack. Jack was the head of security. A lot of niggas don't know that. You know what I'm saying? And when he had Charlie Baltimore, Cam, Dutch, and Spade, he couldn't pay these niggas because he was paying Jack weekly. Jack and Jimmy weekly. They was in his pockets. Like, nigga, you need some bread, nigga. Hey, you know what I'm saying? They was extorting. Heavy. You know what I'm saying? So it was on that type of timing with them niggas. You know, it was on that type of timing with them niggas because they was grimy. You know, niggas from Flatbush that was really, you know, on that type of timing. Now, when it came to, like I said, the Quad Studio situation, and before the Quad Studio situation, Pac felt the way he felt. Because what niggas I understand is, it's like, nigga felt like, hold on, I'm loyal to these niggas and they violating. You know what I'm saying? These niggas ain't holding it down. They switching lawyers. They doing all type of grimy shit. And it's like, yo, my nigga, you know what I'm saying? These niggas, he felt the way he felt because he felt like niggas was on some slime bullshit, which they was, because he took the rap for these niggas and their guns and all type of shit, right? Biggie gets robbed by Killer Ben. You know, they always love to talk about this story. Pac told what Biggie said and he got robbed. Yeah, they robbed Big and, you know, Killer Ben and them and you know, Faith on Franklin, you know, and you know, that was right after they robbed Old Boy for the rollie, which ended up being an all-out war, which ended up a little girl getting killed, Killer Ben getting killed by the phone booth. You know what I'm saying? And by a rapper too. You know, allegedly, it was a rapper that shot Killer Ben. You know? It was a rapper that killed Killer Ben. You know? That was really about that. You know? They pulled up on him and shot him in the head on the phone. And that was over the Rolex. And when they ran down on Big, it had something to do with that Haitian Jack, Jimmy Henchman shit. They robbed them right there on Franklin. You know what I'm saying? They robbed him right there on Franklin. Him and Faith was in the car. They robbed him. You know? And a lot of niggas don't understand that these niggas was just known for that grimy shit. And they had a team, and this was before, you know, the Commanders and, you know, Street Fam later on and a lot of that, you know, that shit that was coming out after. Like, these niggas was like these was the niggas that was just, they was taking shit. They was coming in, robbing niggas in the industry and going in and doing what they do, disciplining niggas. You know, so when they felt that Pac violated, like Pac had no business saying what he said about Jack, but he had every right to say what he's saying because these niggas lined him up with Ayanna Jackson, right? And not only that, they lined him up with Shorty, but they also lined him up with this whole case. And then not only that they lined him, but they lined him up in the studio. And when a lot of people say, yo, Pac started East and West beef. He never did. What happened was he was going at the niggas that went at him, the niggas that shot at him. If you listen to his records, who was he directing his shit at on Against All Odds? Jack, Jimmy, the niggas that set him up. He knew they set him up. You know what I'm saying? So he knew. He knew. You know what I'm saying? Because Nubs and Tut and the 90s General that came in the Quad Studio, you know, they had a mission. And they was known for doing shit like this. That was their MO. Like I said, after they robbed Pac, the next year, they robbed the kid TT in his crib with his girl. Tied his girl up, tied him up, you know. And then after they did that, they goes and do the girl, the homie did the girl, the 90s General did the girl filthy. Sexually assaulted her and all that. And told her if she tell, they was gonna come back, and then they was gonna come back, do this again, and was gonna kill her. Now Tut went to jail for something he didn't do. And Dexter Isaac wanna take always take motherfucking credit. Nigga, you didn't do none of that, nigga. The nigga that's in Otisville right now did that. That was his work, nigga. He the nigga that had the fake Jamaican accent, nigga. Talking in patois. That was him, nigga. That wasn't you. You wasn't there, Quad. Niggas was short that did that. All three of the niggas. You was a tall nigga. You know? So, and he said what he said about Jimmy, because him and Jimmy wasn't, you know, he felt Jimmy did what he wasn't supposed to. He didn't do what he was supposed to do and all that. But nigga, them same niggas robbed you, homie. Them same niggas did you dirty in the studio. The same niggas you trying to claim you was a part of that team. 90s General did him dirty with his baby moms in the studio. So when it comes to, you know, these dudes, man, they was just grimy individuals. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, with the whole, like, even with the situation with Jay-Z, you know, like, they felt some type, like, Jimmy felt some type of way that, yo, they doing paid in full. And because, you know, son was cool with Demencio and all that, they felt like, oh, yo, they repping this nigga Poe and all that. And, you know, and then, you know, they ended up having J.O. Felony. We had J.O. Felony diss Jay. The same shit he did with the game. He used the game to diss 50. You know what I'm saying? Which was corny because they had a damn good movement. And he did the same thing with J.O. Felony that he did with the game. You know? And in that situation, it kind of worked for the game. But in the J.O. Felony situation, it didn't work for him. You know, he ended up getting blackballed. Let's just keep it real. But they went to Marcy Projects, you know, and they did what they did. And they dissed Jay in his own hood, you know. But that was the sanction of Henchman, you know. And, you know, just look at his case. Look what happened to him. You know, none of the dudes that was his co-defendant respected him. They all told on him. They all told on him. They all snitched on him. They all said what they said about him. They say he was this and he was that. And it is what it is. You know, they didn't have no loyalty to him. And perfect example, you know, you can't be surprised by that, because if you hiring dudes, you giving dudes work to put in work for you. They don't even say that. You giving niggas work to put in work for you. You know, 50 wasn't backing down. You saw the paperwork on Crown TV. I don't rock Crown cool. I don't got no issue, but, you know, I have a disagreement with son. But the paperwork is online. You can see the paperwork where basically you can see that certain niggas wasn't backing down. They didn't give a fuck who Jimmy was. They wasn't backing down the son. You know what I'm saying? And in that situation, Son was looking like Avon on season 3. And 50 was looking like Marlo on season 3. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, Jimmy thought that everybody is scared of him. Just like with the Pac situation. Pac wasn't scared of him. Pac told him what it was. Before he went to the Quad Studio, after he finished recording that Ron G, he went to Shaka Zulu. The weed spot, Shaka Zulu. He was over there at the weed spot, the Shaka Zulu weed spot, and was, smoking and all that. And then when he left the weed spot, he went to Quad and all that. But he felt some type of way that a nigga violated and disrespected him. But what the nigga don't understand is, nigga, it is what it is, nigga. You know what I'm saying? Like he said, my nigga, I wasn't going to do no song for free. I was charging the nigga. And he wanted his money in lump sums. And Jimmy didn't have it. He was talking about, yo, I'll give you a check and all that. Nah, he wanted his cash on delivery. You understand what I'm saying? So, if you really look at it, look at Prize. Prize a cool dude. It's fucked up that they lined him up like that in the court. You know what I'm saying? And exposed him and said, yo, he been working for us for years. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. They expose Jack like that. Numerous times. Hip-hop cop, Derek Parker, the federal agent that was in Vibe magazine that exposed him. I remember the article. They exposed him in there. How they had him infiltrate 50 Cent and, infiltrate. They wanted him to infiltrate Murder Inc. to get information on Supreme and them. And for years, they was having him infiltrate in the music industry to get next to certain people in the industry. He was giving them information. And just look at the Prize situation. What did the Fed say? He been working for us, on some Willie Boy Johnson shit. And then it makes you wonder, like, hold on. What the fuck happened with John Forte? Did they line up John Forte the way they lined up Pac and everybody else? Because John Forte was doing serious time until he got pardoned by George W. Bush Jr. He was going through serious time in prison for a lot of birds that they said he was smuggling, And, Jimmy had John Forte. He was managing him and Jack, and that was a artist at the time. And then to hear that somebody that's from that camp that was associated with Jimmy, associated with Jack, and he ended up getting exposed for being a rat. It's crazy. And then dudes will be like, yo, but they putting all this paperwork on Jimmy. Look at the paperwork they put out on Jimmy Henchman, saying he was working for them for years. And then look at the paperwork they put out there on Jack. Yo, he been working for us for years. And people saying that, oh, but where's the paperwork? When the feds is coming out there saying, yo, this dude was our worker. He was a CI for us. Confidential informant. He was getting information on everybody in the industry. You know what I'm saying? So they was on some Gregory Scarpa shit. They was letting them put in work and do all the type of gangster shit. Like Whitey Bulger, Gregory Scarpa. They let you do the fuck shit. The William O'Neills and all of them. They let you do the fuck shit. And then when you do things out of bounds, then now they gotta get you. They gotta put you in jail. What happened to Jack, he was doing a lot of motherfucking menacing. And then they was like, okay, we're gonna sit you down. You're doing too much in LA. To the point that you trying to extort the white folks now. It was one thing to extort the niggas, but it's another thing to fuck with the white people. You know what I'm saying? And around that time, he was having issues with Meech. You know what I'm saying? And I was surprised that, Greg Taylor would talk about the Meech situation, because a lot of people don't know about the beef between Meech and Haitian Jack. Because that was a big situation. That was right after the Wolf situation when that jumped off with Haitian Jack and Big Meech. That was like 04, like late 03. They was robbing the spots and all that and doing a whole lot of shit. You know what I'm saying? Jack was doing a whole lot of shit, and a lot of people got, it was money on certain dudes' heads, and a couple of the headers that was, responsible for the situation with Wolf and all that. And a couple other hitters was getting ready to close Jack's curtains. You know, lucky thing, they scooped him up, put him in, locked him up, and then got him out of there and deported him back over to Haiti first, and then he went to Dominican Republic. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't fight, you know, deportation. He let it ride because them boys wasn't playing. You know, especially around that time, he wasn't playing. You know, because he violated. You know what I'm saying? When he shot a maid nigga from being meth in the kneecaps. You know, and the whole thing started when they was in the club, and he was with MC Light. Haitian Jack was with MC Light, and them niggas told him what it was, and he felt disrespected, so he capped dude in the kneecaps. You know, and like I said, if you really look at the whole shit with Pop and a lot of other shit, you know, even the shit with Pistol Pete, a lot of people don't know about the situation that happened at the tunnel when Jack was there and Pete and them was ready to get it on with him. And they was inching for him to come to the VIP, and Jack didn't come in the VIP. He refused. Because it was about to get ugly for him. You know, it was going to get ugly for him. And a lot of people don't talk about that. They always talk like the nigga was a victim. He wasn't, you know, in certain situations. You know, but he was known for lining and setting up niggas. That's what they was doing, Jack and Jimmy and all of them. That was what they was, that was their MO, to line and set niggas up and extort niggas. You know, and when, you know, when certain dudes refuse, they want to take it to war. You know, you heard what happened with Chris Lighty, how they was like, you know, dudes was trying, like Jimmy was trying to get dudes to hit him. And don't get me wrong, you know, Jimmy smacked the shit out of Kevin Childs when Kevin Child's wife said what she said about him in Dawn Diva magazine. He smacked the shit out of him. You know what I'm saying? People don't talk about that. That really did happen. He really got smacked the shit out of by Jimmy Henchman. And like I said, around those times, you know, Jimmy Henchman was a dude that really had, you know, dudes was inferior dude. Not everybody, but the dudes that was in the industry that was inferior dude, because he had hitters, you know, and he had people. And like I said, the situation at Madison Square Garden is a perfect example. R. Kelly performing, he wasn't capping. They really did have them niggas there at the Garden with them hammers. You know, Star said the main dude that stepped him when he said what he said about Aaliyah was Jimmy Henchman. Because at the time, Jimmy Henchman was working with Black Ground Music. You know, via Zip brought him there, and him and Barry Hankinson had a relationship. You know, Barry Hankinson is a Muslim just like Jimmy. So they had a relationship, and, you know, when that shit popped off, the first dude that was ready to go when Star did what he said what he said, was Jimmy Henchman. So Henchman was an industry goon. You know, he was the one that was like the muscle for the industry, right? And a lot of niggas don't look at it, but when it came to the situation, when you look at Quad Studio was a perfect example of, you know, one nigga not going back down to none of these niggas. And Pop wasn't backing down for them niggas. They wanted that nigga to back down. They was like, because they didn't respect rap niggas. You know, they was extorting and robbing rap niggas. They didn't respect that. You know what I'm saying? They thought he was a coward. You know, so when Pac said, yo, you know, light-skinned, stocky with a Haitian accent, jewelry fast cars known for flashing, listen while I lace this rap and take you back, a real live snitch, and Haitian Jack. He wasn't capping when he said that. Because his lawyer found out about Jack, and they kept looking at, yo, how this nigga keep beating cases? The reason why, he was working. If you listen to Hip Hop Undercover, Jack tells you he was in the military, right? He got caught. Not caught, but he got, you know, something had came up and they was trying to lock him up. And he was supposed to go to immigration. And he was on the run. Now, mind you, if you was supposed to go to immigration, you was on the run. So from 90 to 2004, they let you just wild out like that? Is because he was working and he had people in high places because this nigga had the diplomacy and he was a foreign diplomat. So being that he was a foreign diplomat, his parents was foreign diplomats, he had a lot of political ties. And this is why people don't understand that dude was what he was, a government informant. And what niggas gotta understand is that when you look at the Haitian Jack and the Jimmy Henchman stories, and even with Prize, look at the situation. Prize got exposed in court. Jimmy Henchman, the same thing. They exposed him and say, yo, look, this dude was telling, he was snitching and all that. Haitian Jack. They had a whole article of him snitching. These dudes was working. Jimmy was the main one talking about snitches and calling snitches out, this and Alpo, this and this one. But he was the main one that was working also. And niggas told on him. Ali Zoe snitched. All these niggas snitched. Black from L.A., he snitched. Henry Butler. All these niggas, they snitched. But they all was working. Fucked up part is they got a better deal than Jimmy. Jimmy was just doing a lot of shit. He was trying to play both sides of the fence. He was doing the Gregory Scarpa shit. And they wasn't going for it. They wasn't going for it. He was doing the Whitey Bulger. They wasn't going for it. You know? And a lot of niggas would be like, well, he not no rag. He doing his time. How he's not? How's Jack not a rag? When that nigga had mad cases. And he was hitting the streets. And then you got federal agents coming out and exposing him, saying like he was working for us and he was building cases. He was helping us build cases on every nigga in the industry. And street niggas that was getting in the industry. The Preems, the Pete, the Peter Shoes. Everybody that was a street nigga getting in the industry. He was helping the government get cases on them niggas. So Jimmy and Jack was paid, you know, agents. Just like Prize. Prize was a paid agent. Look at Prize. Prizewell was a paid agent. If you look at Prize's situation, look how Prize went out. Look how Prizewell went out. The feds exposed him in this case. They did him dirty. Said, yo, he was a government informant for decades. I'm like, damn. This nigga probably lined John Forte up. It's crazy, man. It's crazy how the streets is, man. So when it come to this and like watching that episode of All the Dialogue with Billy and Greg and Mark Curry, everything them niggas said was facts. They tried to line Puff up with some white bitches. I already knew the story. How they came in the crib with Sean and Mark Curry, Spot, Jack and Zip. And the head they was going to do Puff the same way they did Pot. It's not surprising. Grimy individuals. But hey, here's what it is, man. It's your boy Bullets Gotti, man. You already know what it is, man. Stay safe, man. You gotta always say, man, a lot of these niggas that say real official OGs, man, they not. The Haitian Jacks, the Jimmy Henchmans, is this perfect example of, you know, once they use you and they don't need you no more, you damaged goods. You know, Jimmy Henchman and Jack were both damaged goods, and they let them go. It is what it is. Look at Bloody Hatchet. Look at John Bloody Hatchet. Hatchet did the same thing. He told. Gave up mad niggas, told him, I'm not sitting down. Everybody got to sit down. That's what he said. Everybody got to sit down. I'm not sitting down no more. Everybody got to sit down. And he told on T Black. And these are niggas that was linked in the same circle with Jack, Jimmy. They all was linked in the same circle. And they all went out bad. Is what it is.